morning, everyone, and welcome to the Above Average Podcast, the only AA meeting worth attending and the only refuge for the slightly, ever so slightly above average. I'm your host, Lake, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Tanim. Tanim, how are you doing in lockdown number 8?
What's up? New Year's to you, and happy belated birthday.
Oh, thanks. Happy belated birthday to you as well. I really got fucked up trying to remember when your birthday was, because we went to a Brazilian steakhouse, and I was like, I think I only had a light jacket, so it was probably spring, but it's actually December. So I kind of fucked up on that.
All right.
I'm sorry.
I mean, I forgot yours too, so I mean, even though
No, yeah. I mean, like, you can't really do anything COVID birthdays. Like, I got my Canton chili.
probably both got back, so that was like our gift.
Yeah, no, I'm really sad to report that I know I've betrayed everyone, but I'm now a Pfizer pleb by pure accident. I'm not happy about it, but yeah, I'm a Pfizer pleb now. I got my Pfizer booster. No Moderna for
I mean,
me.
you can always even out with the Moderna next time. Who knows? In a couple months.
Yeah. No, I heard there were these there's these dudes who work on container ships, and because different countries have different vaccine requirements, they've just had to get every single fucking vaccine. So they get like the Sinopharm one and Moderna and Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca, the Russian one.
Gotta catch them all.
Yeah, Sputnik. Exactly. Yeah. So like, man, these guys are probably like the most fucking immune to COVID of anyone, because they got like 8 different vaccines, and they're all different types of vaccines. Like they got their protein vaccines and their dead virus vaccines and their mRNA vaccines. So they got like
Probably got like one of those cards that like 10th vaccines free.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like frozen yogurt. I don't know. It's free anyway, so fuck it, man. This time, like, the one thing I've been enjoying from previous vaccines is good old COVID sleep.
Well, it knocks you out.
Yeah. Like when you have your vaccine, you sleep so deeply afterwards. And it's kind of nice, act like it's good to nap all day and eat soup. It didn't happen to me this time. I was kind of disappointed. I was relying on that to reset my sleep schedule after I fucked it over the holiday.
Because you got Pfizer.
Yeah, no. But on the plus side, I don't have to go back to work because of Omicron. So
it's a plus for you.
I mean, yes, thank you, Omicron. Omicron is a good thing. Oh no, you're gonna
clip it,
paste. Yeah, you're gonna paste that over my face and put that on the internet and put it without any context. Like, oh my god, Lake said Omicron was a good thing. What an asshole. But I mean, no, it's not a good thing.
It is if you don't want to go back to office.
I mean, yeah, like there's not really a need to go back to the office, I don't think. Like I feel like we have to tell ourselves we have to go back to the office because like commercial property companies and like just companies in general have invested so much money in office space. Like, shit, we can't give up the charade now. We got to keep going.
Yeah, they need some kind of reason to like get you back, so to justify the cost.
Yeah, exactly. We got to make you come in, because we paid for. Yeah, like it's like when you buy like a box of cereal and it's shit, but you gotta eat it because you bought it.
Yep.
Yeah, like so you just have like a month where you like slowly dredge through awful cereal because like you eat like small bowls because it's so terrible. Fucking Mueslix. Like Mueslix ruined my life for like a month because I'm like too cheap to admit defeat and like throw out the cereal and go and buy Fruit Loops. So that's what they're doing. So Office Space is the Mueslix of assets. It's the Mueslix of assets. It's the shit you shouldn't have bought, but like you feel like you got to use because you bought it anyway. Like you're trying to be healthy and do the right thing. You bought it, but it's terrible, and now it's just taking up space.
And you can't throw it out because you gotta reserve those funds for a rainy day.
Exactly. You invested all of your assets into the Mueslix.
And no, we are not sponsored by Mueslix.
No. You invested all your assets into Mueslix, and now you're just fucked.
That's when Mueslix like hit us up. Hey, you guys did a great job advertising us. No one wants to eat our product.
I did say they were like inedible shit.
What do you advertise for us?
Please say Mueslix is an edible crap on your show. That'll. I'm kidding, of course. I've never eaten Mueslix, and I never will.
No, you just ruined the whole being able to being advertised by that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I feel like we should talk about Bitcoin on the show at some point. I don't know why I said that. I just, I want to get in on the Bitcoin train. I want to start selling NFTs and just like make money on other people money laundering. But
Last time we wanted to get into more scams, so I mean,
yeah, exactly. NFTs are the thing with NFTs is like apparently art investment has always been about money laundering. Like you just like buy the art to store your money like in tax havens, like to shelter it. So NFTs are just like making it digital and kind of removing the pretense of
legit.
this is for money, like that this is for art, but it's actually for money.
Yep.
I'm thinking of like getting my brother to I don't know, draw me some NFTs, and it'll be like, oh no, this is worth $100,000, trust me.
Right, it's a 101.
And some Chinese, Russian, or American plutocrat will, like, their Swiss investment banker is going to be like, yeah, we can avoid taxes with this.
Yeah.
I think it's a bad idea to get into scams right now because, like, January really feels like everyone's either dying or going to jail.
Or losing their job.
Or losing their job, which, I mean, I think dying or going to jail is worse, but, I don't judge.
Depends on who you are.
I don't think, come on, who actually loves their job that much? Like, I don't know.
Clearly not us.
Well, no. Like, I'm not
knocking them, but
not knocking. We had like a minor wave of celebrity deaths. We got Peter Bogdanovich, Sidney Poitier, the last Hollywood, not the last Hollywood great, but the last great of like the Hollywood golden age.
Betty White.
And Betty White. And like, man, people were like putting way too much like emotional weight into Betty White remaining alive. And I love Betty White, but like, people are like legitimately very upset and have clearly put like a lot of their well-being into the risk that Betty White lived to 120. I think that was a risky proposition to begin with. But yeah, no, people are like, oh, there's no hope. Betty White's dead. And like, I like Betty White, but I think there's better ways. There's better ways to cope with COVID. Not that I know of it.
Should bring in the new year with it.
Yeah, no. It's sad. It's sad, but like, you can't invest your emotional future in expecting Betty White to live forever. So it's
or anyone,
or anyone. It's just like Betty White being almost 100. It was like very unlikely we were gonna outlive her. So I don't know. I guess I was just surprised how much she resonated with people. How much she meant to people. And in a way, it seemed unhelpful. Like, not that this was her fault. It absolutely was not. It's just like, I think people were kind of clinging to things and were thinking like, oh, Betty White is, wholesome and good. And as long as she's around, everything's okay. But
now we're in lockdown, so
yeah, now it's 2022. We're in lockdown, and Sidney Poitier and Betty White are gone. So it's
things are looking up.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I don't know. It's not. Yeah, I get that it's hard to cope with though, because like it really feels like we're back to square one, and the last 2 years was basically for nothing.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people that I know that they got laid off, or they're thinking about pursuing other passions that they want, whether it's like opening up a business or what have you. Some people are even moving to the States where there isn't a lockdown. So
that feels like I don't know that. Okay, so I would say it feels like a mistake, like it's like a permanent solution to a temporary problem, but
yeah.
I said that 2 years ago, and it's 2 years later, and it's at a certain point. I mean, I guess you gotta get your life going.
Enough is enough.
No, it's I read online like some kid complaining that COVID started in 2019 when he was 14 and he's turning 18 this year. I thought I had to do the math on that in my head, and I thought like, oh god, that's actually possible. Fuck. I guess it's so long term at this point that I guess it's not actually a mistake to move for COVID, just because at the end of all this it will have been long term enough that it's fine. Like, you didn't buy a $500,000 house for what turned out to be a 6-month lockdown. Yeah. When it's 4 years, it's that's a decent chunk of time. I personally regret not getting one of those visas to work online from Barbados. Yeah, like that was a mistake. I should never have lived through 2 lockdown winters, and I should have spent the whole time in Barbados, soaking up the sun, going on the beach. Like, at least At least if like I'm in lockdown, I can do shit outside. Like, dude, it's cold outside and I can't go anywhere or do anything, so I've had to take up reading.
Nerd.
Reading. I know, and fucking nerd. It's terrible. So had to start like chipping away at like my, you know how you make a Netflix watch list and you're like, oh, I should watch this movie because it won an Oscar 30 years ago, and then you don't watch it. You just watch
Right.
The Simpsons on Disney Plus.
Also, another good thing is that it makes you catch up on shit you haven't done.
No, I know. I'm finally watching The Wire 20 years later.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that McNulty, what a nut. I don't know, it's that one's weird because like, you know, it's kind of ahead of its time on like the war on drugs and, you know, how we changed policing as a profession, but you know, it was saying that in 2004.
Yeah.
So, you know, and not, you know, 2020 or 2019 or, you know, what have you. Yeah, so it's pretty grim when you have to like, you know, scrape the bottom of the barrel of your Netflix watch list. Remember that guy you were talking about who got the glass cut? This is peripherally related just in terms of desperation of the pandemic, but you were talking about a guy who like got a glass cutter and just started walking around the mall and stealing jewelry.
Yeah, at Fairview Mall, there was a video of someone just going into the jewelry store and just breaking up all glass and just taking the jewelry and just running out.
And this is like a crude cell phone video of okay, yeah. And like it, and people see he's doing it, and like, you know, they're not like they're telling him to stop, but like not actually stopping.
No one's really around him. He's just doing his thing and like all the jewelry, and we're distant, and then you see him run out, and the cop does run after him.
That's pretty funny. But I feel this is kind of related. Like, are you aware of like this whole phenomenon of, well, it's not really a phenomenon, but like it's more of a media phenomenon of you know, like mass open shoplifting?
Yeah, it's big in the States.
Yeah, so I feel like I need to do like a public service. Like I looked into it quite a bit, like, and I feel like I have to do like a whole public service announcement on it, just because like I think there's a lot of misinformation going around, because like what people are attributing this to a lot is like, you know, change in police practices to be more lenient on crime, or change in sentencing guidelines. So like one of the popular myths that's going around is that like, oh, California legalized theft under $1,000, and people just, you know, steal shit up to $1,000 and then leave and then do it all over again. But I'm here to tell you folks that's not how the law works. So what actually happened in California is it used to be theft under $400 was petty theft, which is a misdemeanor, which, to be clear, misdemeanors are still illegal. You can still go to jail, just like only for up to a year, and you can also have a fine of up to, I think, $1,000 or $10,000. But anyway, you can still go to jail and have a fine, so it's still legal. So, but anything over $400 was larceny, and that's a felony, and it affects your ability to vote, apply for certain government benefits, and you can go to jail for up to 3 years. But now they changed the threshold between petty theft and larceny to $1,000. So what that means is, like, if you steal under $1,000, it's or maybe it's $950. But if you steal under that amount, it's a misdemeanor, and if you steal over that amount, it's larceny. But this has led to, and that's like normal. Like most states do have like a threshold around, like somewhere between $500 and $1,000 between petty theft and larceny. Like that's not abnormal.
Yeah, so go for the small T.
Yes, exactly. But remember, if you can't do this multiple times. So if you steal something worth $500 and then steal something worth $700 later on, like in the same year, they'll usually count like all your thefts in 1 year as part of a continuous criminal spree. So they'll add up the value of all those goods, and then you're facing larceny charges. Another thing is that, you know those shoplifting videos where it's not just one guy, it's like 5 guys go in and then they rush off in different directions?
Yep.
Yeah, like remember, like it happened when we were kids, like a bunch of kids would go into like a convenience store and steal a bunch of shit, like on the logic that they couldn't catch us all.
Yeah.
Basically like that. And you know, the myth is that if each person steals under $1,000, it's all misdemeanor. But that's not actually the case. So if your buddy, if say you have like, three guys who go in and they each steal $500, it wouldn't be considered a misdemeanor charge for each of them because each of them stole $500. It's actually, because it's part of the same criminal conspiracy, they would all be responsible for a $1,500 theft. So you're still facing felony charge. So yeah, run.
I mean, go plan. This is the 101 course from Lake.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so the real Tanim, you worked retail, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what did they tell you to do with shoplifting?
You just don't run. Told not to run after them.
Are you allowed to like yell at them or like tell them to put it
Yeah,
back,
but
or?
you can't do anything about it.
Okay, yeah, you're just supposed to like film them and call the police kind of thing.
Sure, or wait for the mall cop.
Oh yeah, okay. So yeah, like if you have mall security, like they'll take care of it.
Right, but you can't actually chase them. Actually train them.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So the reason that people like seem to be shoplifting with impunity isn't because like they don't fear the law or anything. It's because big corporate stores have policies in place that tell employees they're not supposed to confront shoplifters, and that's like for insurance reasons. Like the shoplifted goods will be insured, but like more importantly, it's more expensive to get sued by an injured employee who like got stabbed trying to confront a shoplifter or broke their arm trying to wrestle them to the ground than it is to just let them go with the merchandise and like worry about it later.
Yeah.
So it's not a law enforcement policy, it's
a corporate legal procedure.
Yeah, it's a corporate policy. So like when people did shoplift when you worked retail, like you worked at a place with like that had like mall security, right?
Yeah, well, usually we're all in malls.
Oh, okay, all right. So like you weren't like really in a situation where like the cops had to respond to it. Like you had your own like private security, right?
Right, but also like they wouldn't be there in time even if you did the cops coming, because like they would just run, and by the time you call the cops, they would be like, "What happened?"
Yep, exactly. So like it's not exactly my point. Like cops don't respond to never responded to shoplifting calls, even like before any of this started, like because they don't think it's worth their time. So like it's not like these people who shoplifted like ever got caught to be prosecuted anyway. So it's not the law that's changed. Yeah. It's just stores have a policy where you're not supposed to confront shoplifters, and some shoplifters know this and will just run off. And it's kind of always been this, but you can't do that to fucking privately owned stores because they will kick your ass. It's different when like because when you're a retail employee, you don't own anything there. Like you're just working there for like $15 an hour, maybe if you're lucky, and then you make the same amount no matter what. But like if you go to like a convenience store where that's like their livelihood, that's how they're gonna send their kid to university. Like if they have a gun, they will shoot you because that's their shit.
Yeah.
So that is my advice. Only rob big corporate stores because they won't stop you. Whereas like small mom, remember that discussion at the beginning of Pulp Fiction with Tim Roth? He's talking about how you can't rob liquor stores. Yeah, you can't rob liquor stores, like, or at least like in the States, like privately owned liquor stores, because they're like family owned affairs, so they're gonna shoot you because that's their store. But like a big chain restaurant, they got insurance, so they don't want to get sued by their injured employees. So it's easier. Final word of advice.
Those are your tips.
Yeah.
Use them wisely. And under 1,000.
Yeah. But like under 1,000 for the whole year, then it's a misdemeanor. Like that. Remember that bullshit about, and you still go to jail for misdemeanors. Just by the way,
FYI.
Just an FYI. I do not advocate robbery. Please don't rob people. No one sue me. Yeah. No. We condone no illegal action here.
Galen Weston, we're a fan of your stuff.
Yes. Thank you, Galen Weston. Don't hurt me. Speaking of like corporate nonsense, you ever go to Indigo and like see the heather picks?
Not in a while, but yeah, I know them.
Yeah, like I have like a whole, this section is going to be called heather pick. Fuck it. Okay, so I'll first off start by saying like, so heather picks are like in an Indigo, chapters are in an Indigo or Kohl's store. Like when you go in, there's like Heather picks, and Heather being Heather Reisman, the CEO of Indigo. Before I go into this a little further, I want to say I'm sure Heather Reisman has like, a reasonable taste in books, having owned a chain of bookstores, and I'm sure she is not responsible for this really in terms of taste, but Heather picks are dog shit. People who read Heather's picks are like pieces of shit. Like, actually go fuck yourself if you read Heather picks.
You're gonna get them after you again.
Yeah, no. Well, no, because like Heather picks are all just like shitty biographies of like shitlib nobodies. Like, it's all like, oh, it's Michelle. Did you read Michelle Obama's biography? She's so important. Married to someone important. No offense, Michelle Obama. But like, and it's also like even worse than like biographies. It's like, those like bullshit self-help efficiency books, like, 13 habits of successful people, or why you should wake up at 5 a.m. to get more shit done. Like, like bullshit hustle culture books. Like, I hate them so goddamn much. Like, and I'm sure the marketing team picks them out, or like, they get paid. Books pay to be Heather picks or some shit.
Yeah, I'm sure publishers pay to be Heather picks.
Yeah, 100%. But like, God, I hate them so fucking much. They're like the worst books ever. Like, people who read those books are they're robots. Like, they're robots with no imagination. Like, they don't read fiction. They don't read like they read like books on like trendy social issues with no depth to them, and how to be more efficient at work. It's just like it's like this is what reading would be if like the big corpos had their way. Like, it's just continuous self-improvement, but only for our benefit. God, fuck those books so much. And if you read them, fuck you. Like, complete tangent, but that's I wanted to get that out there.
You can find Lake on all social media platforms.
Yes, but like, seriously, if you read 21 Habits of Highly Successful People, you're an asshole. Do not talk about them at parties, and go away. Oh, and if you're a boss, don't like display that book, and don't tell your employees to read those books.
I'm gonna give you a Heather pick book for like Christmas.
Oh my God, right? Oh God, the one I hated the most was, or not the most, but like the one that was like, irritating and I was not at all interested in, was Hillary Clinton's biography, like after she lost the election, called What Happened. And it's just like, really? Like, I don't know. If you knew why it happened, you would have beat Trump in the first place. I just have no interest in what Hillary Clinton has ever had to say. Just contrary to popular belief, she's not a particularly interesting political character, in that, like, she never really accomplished anything really notable in her career in the executive. But like, everyone would, had to pretend she was like super qualified to do her job because because of favors to Bill Clinton. Anyway, I'm just not that I'm not a super conservative person. I'm just saying, like, fuck Hillary Clinton and fuck her biography she tried to sell me. Like, that's like trying to like reading Walter Mondale's biography. Like, I don't care about you if you failed.
I mean, a lot of people have a lot more time on their hand now.
Exactly.
So.
Well, yeah, now we have time to read biographies of like people who like almost circumnavigated the globe.
You should have a new series called Lake's Picks.
Oh yes, Lake's Picks. It's all. Oh yeah, we actually should do my picks for Oscar movies of the year. For context, we don't know any of the Oscar noms for 2021. But what's your take on best movies of the year?
No idea, honestly.
No clue.
No.
More
on your lane of movies that we should see, or go see Spider-Man. It was good. Matrix movie, not so much. Keanu Reeves back, so
yeah.
Check him out.
Oh yeah, I have more to say about Keanu Reeves later on, but the Matrix movie, like, I really hated the third Matrix movie.
Yeah, I mean, this one, it looked great. More of a love story with this one. There's some cool scenes, but it didn't really, like, transition well.
Didn't jive?
No, not like the first two.
Okay, yeah. So like, better than the third one, worse than...
Well, now that you have a lot more time on your hand, go see it, but it's not that good.
Okay, yeah. So, I mean, the first one's kind of hard to beat. But yeah, it's funny how Keanu Reeves became like the cyberpunk guy. What I wanted to talk about with Keanu Reeves was, and cyberpunk and all that shit. You ever see Johnny Mnemonic?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Johnny Mnemonic is terrible. It's a dog shit movie, but you should see it anyway. So it stars Keanu Reeves, and like it's from the early to mid 90s, I think, like maybe 1994, and stars Keanu Reeves and has Ice-T in it as kind of like a fucking like post-apocalypse kind of scrapper hacker dude, and that's pretty fun. And if you're from Toronto, the whole movie is in Toronto in the 90s. And like they use the Toronto skyline heavily to be like a cyberpunk dystopian version of Newark, and you could just very clearly see like the BMO and TD and Scotiabank buildings because they didn't try and like scrub the signs. And it's just like, whoa, 90s Toronto, what a cyberpunk dystopia this is.
Yeah.
But the real reason you should see it is because Johnny Mnemonic was written by William Gibson, who wrote Neuromancer, which really started the cyberpunk genre. Like, you know, ghosts in the machine, cyberspace, like cybernetic implants, that sort of shit. Like a vaguely Japanesey corporate dystopian future. Like he invented that shit. And Johnny Mnemonic takes place in the same universe as Neuromancer. And William Gibson actually wrote, like, not just wrote the story that Johnny Mnemonic is based on, but he wrote the screenplay for the movie. And it was terrible. And I always ask myself why they never made Neuromancer into a movie. And that's why. Because Johnny Mnemonic was dog shit. I don't know. Maybe William Gibson was bitter about it afterwards or something like that. Or people realized, like, you know, he can write books, but he can't
adapt them, yeah.
Yeah, he can't write screenplays. As it turns out, seems to be a very different set of skills. Because, I mean, I respect him as an author, like, in his creativity, but that was not a good screenplay. Like, there was some real cheesy shit in that. More importantly, you can kind of... Johnny Mnemonic is kind of... It's not really the first cyberpunk movie. I'm sure that's, like, some anime movie or something like that. Arguably, Blade Runner is the first cyberpunk movie. But it's very influential for like cyberpunk media of the next 20 years. Like you'll see like 5 years later in the Matrix, like the whole like plugging shit into like an implant in your skull and like uploading shit to your brain. That's like in specifically into Keanu Reeves's brain. It's all in the movie. But the whole plot of the video game Cyberpunk 2077 is just straight ripped from Johnny Mnemonic. Like, he has something in his head that's, like, overriding his brain capacity, and he's gonna die, and he has to, like, search for, you know, the solution to this among, like, rogue rhyme punk hackers.
Yeah.
So, influential movie, even though it's terrible. So... yes, everyone, please go see Johnny Mnemonic on Amazon Prime now. Jeff Bezos, please send me my check.
And sponsor.
Yes, Bezos, give us some money. We know you got it. But yeah, no, Johnny Mnemonic, terrible movie, but you should see it anyway. Spider-Man, how was that?
It was good. I mean, it's a slow start to it, but I mean, if you haven't seen any of the spoilers, I'm not going to spoil it, but there's a lot of like nostalgia of past Spider-Mans.
Okay, we're going to designate from now on a spoiler section. So stop listening, skip to the whatever mark. So Dr. Octopus is back.
Yeah, so is Green Goblin.
As well, like Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin?
Yep, he's in it.
Oh shit, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But I mean, is it worth it? Like I love the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans from like the early 2000s. And I watched some of them recently. They don't hold up that well in terms of like the visuals, but I don't know. Is it good beyond
nostalgia?
Like, yeah, is it good beyond nostalgia?
It is, but also because there is a lot of nostalgia, like a lot of the past villains come back.
Okay, so like
Sandman.
Oh god.
Jamie Foxx is in it.
Wait, so they even have like the villains from the Andrew Garfield ones?
Yep.
Oh god. That's truly awful. Cursed.
They have Lizard Man.
Oh, do they have what's his name? Michael Keaton as Vulture?
No, he's not it.
Michael Keaton, what are you doing? You're too good for Marvel checks now, Michael Keaton. I'm kidding.
Right, but they brought back the two other Spider-Man.
Okay, that's weird. I don't know but that's why I don't know. I didn't.
And that's why I guess why everyone likes it, because it's like Tobey Maguire meets Andrew Garfield meets Tom Holland.
Yeah, like it's a combination of all of them. But I don't know. It just seemed like it was trying too hard to pull on my heartstrings of nostalgia. Like I felt too pandered to. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I could do it. Like it's like how, you know, all the celebrities have their celebrity meals at fast food joints, like fucking Tim Biebs and like the BTS meal at McDonald's, and it's like fast food companies being just like, kids, boomers, please buy our shitty food.
Right.
We even got your favorite people. Now buy. I don't know. That's like, did you feel pandered to when you watched it?
No, but I mean, I knew kind of what I was getting into. Like, I knew there was going to be old Spider-Mans and old villains, but just kind of interested to see how they'd work together, how it all kind of pans out, and who's actually the main villain, even though there's so many of them.
Yeah. I mean, the reason... okay, you know what? The main reason I don't care is making a sequel to Into the Spider-Verse, and that's the only Spider-Man I care about from now on.
Yeah, that's going to be good.
Because Into the Spider-Verse was fucking awesome. It was the only good movie from 2018, and 2018 was a dog shit year for movies. Mandy was good. But besides that, like, there were no good movies from 20. I need more Into the Spider-Verse. And I don't really care about... I stopped caring about the live-action Spider-Mans. They just... Honestly, they just made too many sequels, and I felt spiteful that, like, you could make reboots. Sorry, not too many sequels, too many reboots. And I was spiteful, like, you have to wait at least 10 years before you reboot something. Them's the rules, I've decided. You know what? 15. You gotta wait 15 years before you can reboot.
Disney's not gonna like that.
Well, yeah, because 10 years ago was 2012. I don't want 2012 shit rebooted again. Like, that's too soon. From the 90s, go ahead. Oh God. Never mind, 20 years. Yep, no, the 90s were 20 years ago. Never mind, you gotta wait 20 years before you can reboot shit.
Right.
Unless it was really, really bad. You could reboot shit if it was really terrible. Like the Dune movie, which by the way, I'm shilling the Dune movie for all of the Oscars. My boy Denis Villeneuve is finally going to get his best director win, and it's going to be great. And I will finally be triumphant. And the French Connection. I want the French Connection to win Oscars as well.
Nice.
And maybe Belfast. Belfast was interesting. Like, that was the story of wee Kenny Branagh leaving Belfast. It was very touching.
Those are the movies you suggest us to watch?
Yes. Everyone watch Dune, watch The French Connection by Wes Anderson. It's like, The French Connection is good. Because I think Wes Anderson is figuring out, like, his shtick.
Isn't that called The French Dispatch or something?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, no, watch The French Dispatch. I'm sorry. The French Connection is a movie starring fucking Willy Wonka from, like... Yeah, it's starring like Gene Hackman from... Sorry, I'm also getting Gene Hackman and Gene Wilder mixed up.
He's all over the place.
Sorry.
Must be that booster
yes,
shot.
No, I got the pandemic brain. Sorry, The French Connection is like a movie from like 30, 40 years ago about like Gene Hackman, aka Lex Luthor, like going after some kind of heroin bust or something. The French Dispatch is the wonderful new movie from our boy Wes Anderson. So yes, thank you for correcting me on that.
You know the movies.
And making me look like an asshole. It's very much appreciated. Yeah. Anyway, so I think like as Wes Anderson discovers what his shtick is a little more, like he can refine it to more of a science. And I don't know, I really like this one because like I thought it was a lot. It was a lot less. I felt like it took itself less seriously. It was a lot more funny. Like the whole conceit of it is that they do a bunch of like little vignettes, so it's like, you know, kind of 4 short films and one big film written from the perspectives of different writers of this magazine. But the magazine is called The French Dispatch because Bill Murray's character, his dad, like had like a small town Kansas newspaper. He wanted to be like an international journalist, and he said like, "Oh, Dad, I'm just going to go to France to do some reports for our small town newspaper." And then he just never leaves. And like over 20 years, like, you know, publishes this magazine under like the auspices that it's like the French Dispatch of this tiny Kansas newspaper. And I thought that was, you know, that's pretty funny. Like, I still think that's a funny setup for a movie, but no, it's good. I enjoyed it. I don't know if it'll win any Oscars. I feel like, you know, some kind of Florida Project bullshit is going to get the Oscars this year. And I don't know, some kind of documentary about COVID is going to win Best Documentary. And then Don't Look Up. And yeah, and it's not going to be a good year for Oscar movies because it never is. And they never do what's actually good. And yeah,
You get depressed for the rest of the year.
exactly. I don't know why I see the Oscars are my Betty White. Like I invest too much of my emotional health in the Oscars being good this year. Like and that's not healthy. Like I shouldn't do that because the Oscars are never right. Yeah, no. That was it's all a terrible idea, but I do it. I do it
You
for
should quit your accounting job and work with Oscars.
you know, one of the big four accounting firms, I think it's Ernst and Young, was the one who fucked
The
up.
nominations, yeah.
They fucked up the voting when they told them La La Land won, but it was actually Moonlight, and caused that whole
Yeah.
ruckus. But I'm not sure if Ernst and Young got fired because of that. Like they fired the firm because of it.
It's a big fuck up.
Yeah. Oh man, I feel so bad for like whatever like low level like intern made that mistake though.
Well, I mean, you also have to blame like a lot of other people who higher up who missed that as well.
No, of course, but like you know, shit rolls down, so it's not going to be.
So Lake gets fired, but not his boss.
Well, or maybe not necessarily, but if my boss is going to get fired, like he's going to yell at me a lot first, and like you know, try and take me down.
Come up with
exactly, yeah. Like you know, everyone's going to try and blame it on someone lower than them. Like I guess vice versa, but it's not like that's going to work. Like if I blame my
gotta blame someone in the corporate culture.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just the way it goes. It's the natural order of things. The pecking.
The way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah. I feel like watching The Wire has become a chore. Like I have to watch it because it's good, but like the episodes are like an hour long, so like you know I have to like carve out an hour of my day to watch a whole episode of The Wire, and like you know The Wire is like all filler until the last two episodes where everything gets resolved in like a crazy way.
Yep.
And I'm thinking
didn't that guy, the main character guy, die in The Wire?
Well, dude, I've only watched 3 seasons.
Not in the show, I mean in real life.
Oh, Michael K. Williams, yeah, played Omar. Omar is a great character because like he's a super like macho tough guy gangster who like, you know, in his own words makes his living ripping and rolling, and you know robs drug dealers for a living, and is kind of this like cool gangster Robin Hood figure, but you know he's gay.
Yep.
So weird, innovative character for the day, and you know exists in a culture that's kind of homophobic as
ahead of its time.
Gangster culture is, yeah. One thing I love from it is like how like all gangster cultures, like from like Goodfellas, like you know the mafia to like you know drug gangs in Baltimore, like you know they don't like they're all kind of assholes to varying degrees, and they don't treat women very well, but like there's like a whole plot line in The Wire that they're like very deferential to older women.
Yeah.
Like these two guys like try and shoot Omar when he's like taking his grandma to church, and they're like, what the fuck are you doing, try to like shoot a man's grandma? It's
take that grandma.
Yeah, no, it's I don't know, it's just like I get it in a way, like you know, because there's no honor in like shooting an old lady, but it's just funny to see like the tough guys be like, why would you shoot his grandma?
Yeah, completely opposite of your favorite show, F is for Family.
Yes. Oh yeah. So F is for Family is the best show of 2021, precisely because it's anti-nostalgia.
Shout out Bill Burr.
Yes, shout out to Bill Burr and everyone else. Laura Dern plays like the wife in F is for Family. But like I said, F is for Family was something special before because you know the whole like the cartoon sitcoms we watched growing up, like The Simpsons, Family Guy, that sort of thing, where like you know they have conflicts, like you know they're a single income family household. Where like the mother is a stay-at-home wife, and that was kind of anachronistic for the 90s because like by 1980 most women worked, most households were dual income, but like you know you'd still be having like these very like old conflicts, like you know Marge gets a job and Homer's like, oh my god, who will cook my dinner, I'm helpless. Like it's you know, and it's because the writers grew up with that, so like you know that's the conflicts that happened from their childhood, but like you know it's 20 30 years, it's 30 years later, so you know it's out of date by then. But like you know F is for Family has that conflict where the wife gets a job and like, Frank, Susan, yeah, sorry, the wife's name is Susan, the husband's name is Frank. So Susan gets a job and she kind of likes it, but she kind of hates her boss, but she likes having a purpose. And then like, Frank, it like affects his sense of who he is as a man, because he's kind of a piece of shit and he knows it, and he doesn't really have much to offer his family outside of working, and he kind of has to come to terms with that. But like, it takes place in the 1970s, and that's when that conflict was supposed to happen. Like, that's when that conflict actually did happen. Like, it's not, that wasn't, people aren't like telling their wives they shouldn't get jobs, at least mostly in like the 90s or the 2000s, but like that was what was happening in the 70s because the economy was shit. Which brings me to my larger point about why it's the best show of 2021. It's because F is for Family is anti-nostalgia, like viciously pulls no punches, anti-nostalgia. Like, we have like Stranger Things, and it's like, all 80s nostalgia. It's like, remember Rock'em Sock'em Robots, and remember Dig Dug and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and all that shit. But F is for Family was like, no, the 70s was a terrible, violent, racist, horrible era, and like, and you shouldn't be nostalgic for it. Like, it was a much more like mean-spirited and evil time. Like, and it does that constantly. Like, it shows like around every corner is like serial killers and urban decay and acid rain and political corruption and casual racism, but like also like real horrible racism. And it's like, and it's all like kind of exaggerated for cartoonish effect, but not really. But like so the show like really truly hates the 1970s and thinks like America of that era was like a vile, evil place. And that's just great. But it's not like in like a terrible nihilistic way. Like, because it kind of goes through realistic-ish, but obviously over the top for cartoon and TV purposes, like realistic-ish conflicts at like school for the kids and work for the parents, and you can kind of better understand how nostalgia can come out of an era that was actually terrible. So it's not like you don't get how it can happen. Like, it's not so dismal that think like, oh, how could anyone possibly think this era was good? So you have an understanding on that level, but it's very explicit that this was a bad era.
Right, it's satirical but like realistic.
Exactly. And I think most importantly, like all the characters, because it only ran for 5 seasons, all the characters have arcs and like kind of realistic resolutions to their early season problems. Like, Frank is kind of, he's still kind of angry, but he like has learned to be less angry and appreciate his family more and like define himself like kind of less through his work. I think it was a good show in that way. And it's also like, very explicitly like, how you're like a big shill for Honey Boy?
Sure.
Yeah, like how like it and Honey Boy is like the movie. Sorry, explain the plot of Honey Boy.
I mean, essentially it's just Shia LaBeouf kind of reimagining himself as his dad and all the trauma he went through growing up as a child actor.
Yeah, and he plays his dad in the movie, right?
Yep.
So like Bill Burr is doing the exact same thing. Like I'm sure it's not quite the same, but like one of the kids is named Bill and he's ginger and loves hockey, and like they make a joke about him becoming a comedian, but like Bill Burr plays his dad. Yeah. So, or a caricature of what I expect his dad was like a little bit, but just from what he's described from his comedy routines. So I don't know how much he's deriving it, but he's certainly like, basing some of his experiences on his own life.
Drawing his experience on that.
Going through a lot of like old TV shows, I'm surprised at how many of them just like really directly draw from like the comedian's own life. Like Everybody Hates Chris, like all the characters are just his parents, like from his childhood. Like, and they have almost the same name. Like I think they have different last names, but
yeah, that's how that other show is Fresh Off the Boat.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
so that's Eddie Huang, or
Yeah.
yeah. And The Simpsons is like that too. Like, have you ever read Matt Groening's Mother's
History, yeah.
Yeah, and it's you just see like everyone's a fucking character from The Simpsons. Like like Matt and his sister Lisa and Maggie and his mother Marge and his dad Homer and his aunt Patty. Like it's pretty funny.
Another lighthearted animated that I still watch Bob's Burgers, which is
Yeah. Bob's Burgers isn't anyone. That's not anyone's parents, I assume, though.
I don't think so, but I mean it's just like I guess it's like the new Simpsons that
Oh yeah, true. I like Bob's Burgers. It's but I think I've seen the guy who plays Linda, Dan Mintz.
Yeah.
Oh no, not sorry, that's Tina. Oh okay, yeah, sorry, John Roberts, who voices Linda from Bob's Burgers. I've actually seen him in like live do stand up because he was opening for Margaret Cho.
Okay.
And his impression of his own mother is just Linda from Bob's Burgers.
Nice.
Like I can't do the voice, but
All right.
is that your Linda?
Yep.
Bobby. Like I can kind of do the accent, but I can't do the voice. But,
Right.
Bobby. But have you? I think my accents have gotten worse, like over time.
It's the booster shot.
That's yes, new side effect of COVID. You not only do you lose your sense of smell, you lose your ability to do accents. Did you hear about that Yankee Candle thing?
No, what's that?
Oh, so they managed to like correlate COVID outbreaks with negative reviews of Yankee Candles on Amazon because and please everyone go on Amazon and look up Yankee Candles and like read the reviews. There will be a bunch of 1-star reviews people will have made saying like, "Oh, these candles have no strong scent at all. I can't smell a thing. Total ripoff."
Wow.
Because like they're losing their scent from COVID, so they think like, "Oh, these candles smell like nothing." What a ripoff! And then like getting mad online, but little do they know they're in for a rough week. But like for context, like apparently Yankee Candles are very strongly scented. Like you ever have an aunt's house where you like go in and it's just like a waft of perfume?
It smells like grandma.
Yeah, exactly. That's what Yankee Candles smell like. So if you can't smell Yankee Candles, you got the Rona, man. I have a friend who
Got that Rona.
has no sense of smell, and I always forget, but I just I realize like he's probably like constantly paranoid about getting COVID. Like, oh shit, I can't smell. What the? Oh right.
Yeah, that would suck.
I mean,
not being able to smell or probably taste too.
No, I think he can still taste. Like, I don't want to speak for him at all, but I think he can still taste. I'm pretty sure. But come on, like if you were to lose any of your senses, like scent is definitely the most frivolous.
Right, but I know scent is also connected to like taste well.
No, I know, but like it's probably fine. Like you're telling me like if you're honest with yourself, if you were to lose any of your 5 major senses, like smell. That's what you got to give.
Yeah,
up.
yeah. Or you can just get corona.
Yeah, or I could just get COVID and smell. I just occasionally I just smell my armpits, just like okay, it's not.
That's your test. We're good.
Now we're good. You get any of those rapid tests?
No, I have not. I haven't taken any of those, but there's a lot of false positives.
They're like hilariously like pregnancy tests. Like it's like, oh, if there's 2 lines, if there's 1 line, there's no baby, and if it's 2 lines, it's coronavirus.
Yeah, it's kind of a joke.
No, yeah. Like
I feel like someone listened to our last podcast about scamming and then like just made fake tests, COVID tests, and then banked shit on.
Oh shit. We should do that with like just buy a bunch of home pregnancy tests and like say like yeah coronavirus test and just like white out the part that says pregnancy test. That'd be a good scam to run. I feel like I haven't profiteered off this seminal tragedy.
Yeah, a lot of money into this healthcare scams or not.
Yeah, I should have spent the whole time in Barbados.
We're running out of stuff to do, as you say.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like I'm like, okay, I saved up. I didn't go on vacation for a year, so I could save up to buy a house. It's like, okay, that's good. I guess like, what else do I have to do? Like go to school or some shit?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like running out of. Yeah, I'm running out of. Not running out of books because. Please tell me I'm not alone on this, but I have a lot of books on my bookshelf I haven't read. They make me look smart, but I'm not.
Don't tell that to your employer.
No. Well, they've never seen my bookshelf. Also, like, I don't want them to see my bookshelf either. But
Got some interesting literature,
yes.
which I've seen.
Oh yeah. So one of the things, like, I don't know that. So I will preface this with, like, I do not believe in Nazism, but I have a lot of I bought myself with like an Indigo gift card I got. I've got Rise and Fall of the Third Reich, and Rise and Fall of the Third Reich is, like, a 2,000 page monster, like, documenting, like, the entirety of the politics of Nazi Germany.
Yep.
And it's like one of the great works of nonfiction about that time period. But
That should be a Heather's pick.
it has a really, really, really big swastika on the cover and on the spine. Like, it's just like big red, like, Nazi flag with a big old swastika in the middle. And
Nice.
I don't own a lot of books with big swastikas on them, but I do own two. And, like, the other one's like an alternate history book, like, if the Nazis had won. But yeah, I'm just, like, trying to consider, like, what's the etiquette of, like, having swastikas on your bookshelf? Because, like, even if people understand you're into history, at a certain point, like, there's too many swastikas on your bookshelf.
One is too many.
People start, like, oh, that's sus. That's definitely suspect. And, I'm sure, like, Nazis also have lots of Nazi books, like, with swastikas on them, and, like, when people come over and see them, they're like, oh, what the fuck? And they're just like, oh, no, I'm just into history, quote unquote.
And now you're one of them.
Well, no, god damn it. But no, I'm not. God damn it, no. So I'm thinking, like, is it worse to, like, hide all my World War II books, like, in a box, like, separate from my bookshelf? Or is that just going to look like, the kids are digging through the closet and find a box full of books with swastikas on it, and be like, oh my god, Dad was a Nazi.
Just have a box of, like, saying Lake's favorite and put it in there.
Please don't. Yeah. So yeah, I've been considering, like, the etiquette of politically controversial book covers on my shelf. So yeah, that's something I have to worry about, because as I mentioned, my bookshelf is largely there for aesthetic reasons.
Nice.
And not for reading.
Makes a good room background.
Exactly. It's a good room back. Like, look at all my stuff. I was thinking of, like, mixing up communist books with, like,
Nazi books?
Yeah. Like, just, like, have, like, a book with swastikas on it next to a book with, like, a big old hammer and sickle on it. Then they'll be like, oh, this guy's just into, history and political theory. He's not a Nazi. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I'll just, like, put them in a box or something. But so I think I've put too much thought into this one.
Yeah, it's okay. You're closeted enough.
But that doesn't even make sense. That doesn't even make sense. Like, half my family's Jewish. Did you see speaking of child actors like Shia LaBeouf, did you see the 20th, like, the documentary Warner Brothers made that was kind of Harry Potter 20 years after they made the
I
film?
did not see it, but I heard a lot about the reunion.
Yeah, so it's weird because, well, firstly, it's weird that it was 20 years ago. I don't like that.
Why? You have to grow up.
Sure. Fine. But no, it was strange.
You seen it?
Yeah, no, I watched it. And so
You're a Harry Potter stan.
not at all. I only see, I read the first books were read to me by, like, my parents as, like, a bedtime story, and then I think I read the third and the fourth book, and I just kind of lost interest after that, because I get why people like Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Because it's like escapism. But it's still, like, everyday relatable shit that kids do. Like, we go to school, but it's for magic. So, I get that. And that's why I like the first 4 books. Because, it was very much... And I get why the fantasy appeals to people. Like, oh, you don't have to worry about, your shitty life with your horrible foster parents. Because, you're secretly going to be whisked away to a magical world where you're secretly rich and famous.
And wave a magical wand.
Exactly. And, fly around on broomsticks. Like, it's a good fantasy, but I get it in a way. But the documentary seemed to be Warner Brothers attempting to redeem Harry Potter in the eyes of its audience, like to kind of bring its audience back into the fold and just be like, see, you don't got to worry about J.K. Rowling. We own all the movie rights. Please give us money.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and they did have J.K. Rowling in the movie, but like in a very limited extent. And they made it very clear, like anytime they had her talking in the movie, it said in the top corner, like, filmed in 2018 or something like that. So it's like, don't worry, guys, this is before she said all that horrible shit. Don't worry about it. I mean, you could still love the Potter movie.
What did she say again? I don't remember.
Money, money, money. Oh, no, like, she's just not a fan of trans people. I don't know all the tweets, but like, she's not a fan of trans people. And I think Harry Potter, like the books, resonated with a lot of like gay and trans kids, because, not that I'm trying to speak for y'all, but it seems to me like someone who has an unhappy home life, and like because they're a gay child or like a trans child, like they might derive some comfort from like an escapist fantasy, where, like I said, you go away to a magical world where everything's okay
and everyone gets you.
Yeah, and like you leave your horrible family behind. And I think a lot of people felt like betrayed by J.K. Rowling, and that's why people are so mad. Which, like, you know, it's I understand to the extent that I can, but
did you hear that they mistakenly put Emma Roberts instead of Emma Watson?
Oh yeah,
in that?
No, I saw, and it was like, and I did not know the difference because they look exactly the same.
But the fan will tell you.
Yeah. No, it's just so weird. Like, why would you know that that's like, I guess Emma Watson would tell them, but for the fans to like know the childhood pictures of Emma Roberts, that's a little weird. Like, you might be too big of a super fan if you know what every celebrity's childhood photo looks like. Like, that's too much. Oh yeah, speaking of Harry Potter, there's kind of been a renewed interest in one of my favorite sci-fi authors, Ursula K. Le Guin. All right, so apparently the controversy like surrounding J.K. Rowling has caused renewed interest in Ursula K. Le Guin, one of my favorite sci-fi authors, and very talented person, because apparently, at least Ursula K. Le Guin claims, Harry Potter is a rip-off of her fantasy series, which is very well regarded, won Hugo's and Nebula Awards. Yeah, her series called Earthsea. And so I read a synopsis, and Earthsea seems very much like, oh, it's a kid who's the chosen one, goes off to a magical school. But that's kind of where the similarities stop.
Okay.
And Earthsea, unlike Harry Potter, is very much like high fantasy. Like, it exists in like, a world of wizards that is very much not our own. Whereas Harry Potter is more, I guess you'd call it an urban fantasy. Like, it's a fantasy that takes place in the present day in our world, but it's kind of, hidden from view.
Yeah.
And it's, I think it's a very different story. But, I suppose there's only so many stories to tell. But yeah, either way, like, even if I don't necessarily think Earthsea was ripped off to make Harry Potter, I still enjoy like the renewed interest in Ursula K. Le Guin. And I'd love it if like they started like making movies out of her works. I think that would be. She also wrote The Left Hand of Darkness, but Ursula K. Le Guin is one of those authors who, or one of those women who thrived in a predominantly male field before kind of gender equality in that field started to kind of take root.
Yeah.
And she just like, powered through it on the strength of her sheer awesomeness as a writer. And so she's like a very singularly talented individual, like much the same way that like Marie Curie, 2-time Nobel Prize winner, was able to break into like the almost entirely male field of physics, like just by being better than everyone else. Ursula K. Le Guin was able to break into sci-fi writing in like the 70s.
Has she written anything new?
Well, she passed away in 2018, but she wrote like the Earthsea series. She wrote books for it up until the 2000s. So she has some relatively recent work I mean, like, within the last 20 years. So, but like, she's mostly known for her social sci-fi book, The Dispossessed, and The Left Hand of Darkness, and the Earthsea series. She's probably most known for the Earthsea series, which she started writing in the 60s. Oh, sorry. I thought she wrote most of her stuff in the 60s. In the 70s. She actually wrote it mostly, like, her first two big books, Left Hand of Darkness and A Wizard of Earthsea, in 1968 and 1969. So she's pretty accomplished. Oh, and she had this other series called The Hainish Cycle. It has a bunch of books called Planet of Exile and City of Illusions. And Left Hand of Darkness, I think, is like the fourth book in that series, but they're not really, the other ones aren't as well known because Left Hand of Darkness is so critically acclaimed. But yeah, she wrote like a lot of books. She wrote like, obviously slow down later in your career, but she wrote some Earthsea short stories in like 2014. So like just 4 years before she passed away at like the age of 88. So she was writing until like very late in her life. Very talented person. And she published her last novel, Lavinia, in 2008. Very talented person. And if that can be like something good that comes out of the J.K. Rowling controversy, that like, not just one of the great like women writers of science fiction, but like one of the great writers of 20th century science fiction. Like if her works can kind of come to the forefront, become repopularized, and maybe make some movies, that would be fucking awesome.
You write it all?
Me? Yeah. Or kind of. I've always wanted to write a book.
You should write something, or like even a screenplay.
Yeah. No. Well, you write screenplays.
Yeah, but I mean, like, you also have a different frame of reference, and like, obviously, than I do, and you read a lot of books, and a lot of really great TV series, movies, what have you, documentaries, all come from these books.
No, yeah. Like, maybe I should, get a whole, start like shilling to get Earthsea.
Yeah.
I'll just be like the rando who becomes the first person to screenwrite an Ursula K. Le Guin book and get a screenwriting credit for that. That'd be, I don't know if that's how it works. How does it work? Like, how do you, like, can you do that in screenwriting? Can you just like create a screenplay based on someone's book and like take it to a producer and say like, I want to make this movie and sell them your screenplay, but like they also have to pay the estate of that person
when you adapt a screenplay, so it just goes under adapt screenplay.
Yeah, but like I as someone uninvolved wouldn't be able to make that happen, kind of thing. Like that's
you'd have to go to your studio and they'd have to legalize all that stuff.
And like they'd have to like go to like Ursula K. Le Guin's estate and like get that approved, and then we could write the screenplay. Not if we abolish copyright,
which we shouldn't.
Ooh. Apparently Winnie the Pooh and a bunch of Ernest Hemingway books came out of copyright this year.
Yeah.
So that's good. I think so. That means like we can just like have Winnie the Pooh characters in anything. You could have Winnie the Pooh as a Marvel character.
No, let's not do that. What would be his superhero power?
Eating honey.
That's not a power.
Sure it is. Like, what if like Superman is trapped in like kryptonite infused honey?
But we also have to save the bees, so
okay. So I just want to mention, fuck save the bees. Well, okay, bees are an invasive species to North America. Bees should not be here. European honeybees were brought over by Europeans. Bees are not native to North America. Nothing here got pollinated by bees before Europeans brought bees here. And now there's fucking bees everywhere.
Yeah.
Not a huge fan of bees because they sting.
But you're a fan of honey?
I don't really like honey. It's too floral. Like, I like it in honey garlic chicken wings, but that's about
if it's masked.
Exactly, if it's masked. Like, if the more floral taste is masked by garlic. But, like, yeah, everyone, read nonfiction books about the Columbian Exchange. It's cool shit. Like, Italy didn't have tomatoes. North America didn't have bees. So, yeah. Bees are all invasive species from Europe suck. Rats are, I assumed raccoons, but apparently not.
We love a raccoon here.
Red squirrels. Yeah, raccoons are actually native to North America. Unfortunately, can't get rid of them.
I love your trash bins.
I know, right? Apparently, though, I know we only ever hear about like invasive species coming from like Europe and Asia to here. But apparently raccoons are like invasive to like Germany and Japan. That's awesome.
Fucking shit up there.
Exactly. Yeah, fuck their shit up. That'll teach them to start World War II, having to deal with raccoons. But also, like, you infest us with carp and bees, we'll infest you with raccoons and gray squirrel. Give the Italians tomatoes. My solution to invasive species is every time we have an invasive species, we send a worse invasive species to where it came from, like, just so they know what it feels like. Because I feel like the exchange has not been fair. Like, Europeans, like, infested our rivers with carp, and carp are disgusting. But then, like, they get trout. That's not fair. Trout are way better than carp. So that's why we had to give them raccoons.
It's a fair trade.
Yes, exactly. Revenge-based ecology.
Yeah, all right, thanks everyone for tuning in. Find us on all your favorite podcast platforms, YouTube, or on Twitter, podcast_above, as well as Instagram at the Above Average Podcast. See you guys next time.
Woo! Yeah.